Nigeria's oil output declined further in October, losing the top spot to Libya amid persisting supply disruptions. According to PEC's November 2021 oil market monthly report, Nigeria's oil output dropped by 19% from 1.25 million barrels per day in September to 1.23 million barrels in October 2021, based on direct source. From secondary sources, Nigeria's crude oil output dipped by 45% from 1.40 million barrels per day in September to 1.35 million in October. Libya, which overtook Angola as Africa's second highest oil producer in December, recorded an increase of 15,000 barrels per day to 1.6 billion barrels in October, according to OPEC. So let's explore this latest development and what this means for the country. Mr. Valazaka is petroleum engineer and chartered accountant. He joins me now via the telephone. Now, thank you for your time, Mr. Zeka.
Thank you.
Always a delight to have you on our program.
Thank you very much.
Now, let's get started with this. What does this mean for Nigeria to lose a top place to a country like Libya, given the fact that Nigeria has been, tagged the Africa's largest oil producer? What does this mean to lose export?
Thank you very much for that excellent question. But before I answer it, I want to start with a condolence to the oil and gas industry family and Nigeria. Last Friday, Nigeria lost an industrious person in the upstream sector of the oil and gas industry by name Engineer Victor Okolo, the managing director of Eroton Exploration and Production Company, a great Nigerian, a senior colleague and a mentor. And then just yesterday again, Nigeria lost somebody in the downstream sector of the oil and gas industry in the name of Sani Dangote, the group vice president of Dangote group. So we have lost somebody in the upstream, we have lost somebody in the downstream. My prayer goes to the Eroton family and the Dangote family and Nigeria in general. For the question you asked...
just let me quickly come in here. From iBrandTV also, heartfelt condolences to these families as well. It's a blow to the Nigerian oil and gas industry sector, as you put. But you can go ahead now.
Yeah, thank you. Like you rightly said, it wasn't a good thing that Nigeria lost her position. But you can trace back and give explanations on why all these calamities or why these misfortunes are befalling Nigeria. It's very clear, that we were just going to lose the position, because when you speak in the context of Nigeria today, you're talking about a country that has close to 37 billion barrels of proved crude oil reserve. And the same country called Nigeria has about 203 trillion cubic feet of gas reserve that is proved. But as we speak today, in the entire country, in the entire Nigeria, we have less than 10 drilling rigs. Meaning, when you talk about the land rigs, the swarm rigs, and the deep offshore rigs, they are not up to 10. And if you are not drilling, how can you produce? And if you are not drilling and you cannot produce, how can you contribute and meet up with your quota? We're talking about a country that was planning to get to the point of producing almost 4 million barrels of crude oil per day. We're talking about a country that was planning to boost her crude oil reserve to more than 40,000 billion barrels of crude oil. So when you look at that from that angle, from the number of drilling rigs, if you're not drilling, you cannot produce. But the question is, why are we not drilling? Despite the fact that the price of crude oil in the international market is above $80 per barrel today. As far as I'm concerned, because it depends on who you talk to, but as far as I'm concerned, In Nigeria today, we are experiencing what I can best describe as business climate hostilities. And whenever you have business climate hostilities, these are the things you are going to experience, not only in the oil and gas industry, not only even in the health sector, not only in maybe you talk fabric industry, whether the automotive industry. So somehow, somewhere, the business climate hostility is across the fabric of Nigeria, and the oil and gas industry, where we know we produce the crude oil and we participate and we generate revenue for the country, is badly hit. So in summary, is business climate hostilities.
All right. I mean, you sounded as if you were not surprised at the beginning when you started, the statement. It sounded as if this is not surprising as well. But apart from the hostilities, what exactly is missing? What are we doing wrong? You talk about the fact that we're not producing, but that these rigs are few. So is that the only problem or challenge here?
No, when I said business climate hostilities, I was actually talking about something that has been pregnant, or is a pregnant statement. When you look at Nigeria generally, I mean, there is serious insecurity. The same thing with the areas of operation of oil companies. The insecurity level is very high. And if there is insecurity, no oil company, whether operating or servicing company, will go to there. Because the first thing in the oil and gas industry is safety, regardless of the financial benefit. So if you cannot guarantee the safety of your workers, the safety of your equipment, every other thing becomes secondary. That is one. Then secondly, the operating environment is also harsh financially, because the cost of paying for security, the cost of paying whether towns and the rest, all kinds of taxes, all kinds of extortion. And when you look at even contract cycles are they take a long time. And you're talking about investors who will come in with the monies of shareholders. Shareholders will always want to get dividends. And when you collect loans from the bank, there is what we call interest or cost of capital. So by the time you sum all these together, you find out that, I mean, the only best way you can describe it is to say the business climate is hostile to the investor.
We will talk about how to address some of these issues you put on the table as regard the challenges, but let's dwell more on this, what this means. There are those who are already raising concerns that this displacement could mean more woes for the countries with regards to revenue generation. Would this really affect the country's revenue generating capacity?
Seriously, you see, some of us have always said, even in private life, for people to come close to you and value you, or most importantly, for people to come and have a relationship with you, whether it's business relationship, social relationship, even religious or whatever kind of relationship, they will first of all study you. The investors we are talking have been studying the Nigerian environment, and they ask themselves questions. If we go to operate on land, what kind of conditions are there? If we want to operate in the swamp areas, what kind of conditions are there? If we want to operate in the deep offshore, what kind of conditions are there? So somehow, somewhere, many of these conditions are not favorable. And like we keep saying, these people listen, investors, whether local or foreign direct investors or multinational companies, they see what is happening. They hear about the crime. They hear about the corruption. They hear about the hostilities. They hear about the insecurity. And that was why you could see the price of crude oil going to as high as almost above $80 per barrel, and the investors don't even bother. That is why you could see that, I mean, the petroleum industry bill has been passed into law and nobody cares to come. The first thing you have to do is to make yourself look decent. And even if you are going to start by by asking questions. How is NNPC doing in
Right.
the eyes of the international oil and gas industry? How
Yeah,
is the NNPC equivalent of the drilling company doing or exploration company doing in the eyes of the international community or in the eyes or within the oil and gas industry? All these are signals that will attract outsiders to come in and take the risk and invest.
Now let me come in quickly. Yeah, you talk about the Petroleum Industry Act. I don't know if it would be right or too early to start assessing that document, but we'll come back to that in a moment with regards to some of the challenges, like I said earlier. But let's talk more on the OPEC's role in the production output for some of the members. Libya and Iran are two OPEC countries exempted from the supply agreement between OPEC and partners, including Russia. But now that Libya is top position in Africa, would the OPEC and its allies review the agreement with regards to cutting back output and bringing them under the same conditions, binding on the rest of the members? Let's start from there.
Not really. The reason is this. OPEC is supposed to even be producing about probably 30 million barrels of crude oil per day, or is supposed to, as a cartel, pump about 30 million barrels of crude oil per day. And I think they are operating at probably less than around 27 million barrels per day, or slightly less. So OPEC has not also been able to even meet up with our pumping quota. And let us get one point clear. If the price gets so high, it will not be in the favor of OPEC, because there are producers we call shale oil producers. And those shale oil producers, their crude oil is not as good technically now. It's not as good as the crude oil of most of the OPEC member countries. So if the price continues to increase and it gets to probably $90 per barrel, $100 per barrel, those shale oil producers will now find it viable to go into production, and by the time they start producing and pumping, they will close the market and the price will go down. So it is in the interest of OPEC member countries to be able to meet up with their quota. And let us understand, there was a time Iran was experiencing disruptions. There was a time Iran was experiencing sanctions. The same thing with Libya. Libya experienced disruption for a very long time. So Nigeria also experienced disruption when the militants were at their peak disrupting activities. So for countries, member countries of OPEC that were experiencing disruptions, if they can increase their production, it will be a welcome idea, because during the period of disruptions, they lost so much. And it is just a way to help them within the cartel to be able to catch up.
Well, I think we'll have to go on break now. Well, you have talked about the fact that at OPEC level, this is a plus, but home here in Nigeria will be losing money. I will get started on that note when we come back from this break. Please, I need you to hang on there. We'll take a break now. This is Business Breakfast. We'll be right back in a moment. Glad to have you back. Now you're still watching Business Breakfast coming to you live from our studios here. So let's continue from where we stopped. Mr. Balazaka, petroleum engineer and chartered accountant, he's been with us talking about the impact of Nigeria's oil production decline in October, as Libya is now first in Africa. Thank you for hanging on, Mr. Balazaka. We appreciate your time. Now, let's talk. Let's get started from where we stop. Continue from where we stopped earlier. You were talking about the fact that this is a plus for Africa, but of course, on the home front here, it's not a plus. But let's look at Nigeria's physical breakthrough, which is tied around the oil benchmark with more output in the production. But the analysts fear that the prices of crude oil may crash, as this is likely to affect revenue capacity, especially with regards that we're going to be having a glut now that we're having Libya come to forefront to start leading the production quota from Africa. So what's your take on that? Will it affect the beg your pardon now, the fiscal policy of the federal government, looking at the deficit in the budget?
Well, it depends. First of all, Libya is not competing for now with Nigeria. Libya as a country is trying to recover based on the disruptions that the country has experienced. Libya doesn't care about what is happening in Nigeria. Libya is not bothered about the fertilizer crisis in Nigeria, the bandit crisis in Nigeria. Though insecurity is insecurity, whether national, continental, or global. But Libya is trying to recover after all the political calamities that they experienced. And like we said, it is in the interest of OPEC to be able to meet up with whatever they have set as their benchmark. But in the context of Nigeria, I mean, if Nigeria cannot create the climate that will make investors to come in, it's purely the fault of Nigeria. And like we keep saying, before anybody will come in and contract with you, that person must first of all feel comfortable with you. If you leave your country to go to another country to look for education, if the education system there is no better than your own country, why will you go out? The answer is no. So the question we need to ask first is this: how has Nigeria as a country managed her own oil resources, even her own local oil company? And that's where the question comes from. That's where you start the question. Has Nigeria been able to refine her crude oil locally? The answer is no. Has Nigeria been able to refine to the point where she can provide what we call cooking gas, LPG? The answer is no. Has Nigeria been able to be self-sufficient through internal refining and have petrol or diesel or kerosene? The answer is no. And when you look at it, even when people want to carry out business, as far as I'm concerned, there is no ease in the ease of doing business in Nigeria today. Because you talk about all kinds of taxes, you talk about all kinds of extortion and delays in approval cycles. And most of these investors that will need to come in, whether they are local investors or foreign investors, they will come and will have to make do with the local conditions in Nigeria. They will need to come and run on diesel because there is no electricity. They will also need petrol like any other person. They will also need cooking gas. They will need to provide their water, pay for their security. So by the time they summed up all these variables and find out that other investment havens will be able to provide them with electricity, with cooking gas, with diesel, water, and minimum, the best security they need, they will not come to Nigeria. And like I said, remember, investors, whether they are local or international investors, they are using what we call their funds. And if the funds are from shareholders, the shareholders of the company will ask for dividends. And even if they collect these monies from the bank or financial institution, they must pay interest. So no good investor will be wasting or trying to look at areas that are having hostilities and go to such areas, whether they are even local investors.
But why I was asking that question is that there are those who are concerned that should the oil prices crash or decline from what it is now. Of course, the Brent crude oil is selling for around between $83 to $85, and so
That's right.
so if you have enough glut, if you have enough in the market, that means that the prices will be affected. So with regards to with regards to the oil benchmark in Nigeria and of course the fiscal policy, I'm asking, will these affect the policy, the fiscal policy, with regards to the deficit and of course the oil benchmark?
Of course, I can't remember exactly the benchmark price, but I think
it's $57 US.
Or thereabouts. So whatever the benchmark was at $80 or $83 per barrel today, Nigeria is experiencing surplus in that area. So it's a surplus to Nigeria, but can that surplus be able to take care of the ballooning debt repayment processes or projects of Nigeria? That is the question you are going to is adopting will not help Nigeria. Nigerian leaders should accept that truly Nigeria is not a rich country. Nigeria may be rich in mineral resources, but Nigeria is not a wealthy country. So all this move to make sure Nigeria is run as a capitalist nation is wrong. What we need to do is to see Nigeria as a country where the government is supposed to be the biggest investor, the government is even supposed to be the biggest debtor and the biggest consumer. It is when the government shows that she can do all these things for her citizens that others will be attracted into Nigeria. But definitely, it will be good for Nigeria because there will be surplus based on the benchmark value and the current price of crude oil. But if the production is not there due to declining drilling activities, and the declining drilling activities are because of fear or lack of confidence by investors, then Nigeria needs to do something about the reasons why investors, whether local or multinational, are shying away from Nigeria.
Just before I let you go, Mr. Balazaka, would it be too early, or is it okay to, taking into account the Petroleum Industry Act that was recently signed, to start assessing the level of implementation with regards to some of the challenges you highlighted, like hostility and, of course, the cost of operation and the climate business environment?
Well, it's a collective effort. The government needs to do her own. The citizens need to do their own. The security agencies need to do their own. Immigration needs to do their own. The custom needs to do their own. The tax authority needs to do their own. But at the end of the day, we are relying on our leaders. It is our leaders that are holding the steering, and it is their duty to steer the economic, social, and political radar of the country so that the country will look attractive for investors. And like when we talk about investors, it's high time we move away from this thinking it's external people that will come and invest in Nigeria and make Nigeria rich. No. If you go to some countries, it is the citizens that have been given the best environment to produce. But on our own case, we always think those multinationals coming, they are coming with free money. No. Make the environment good and safe for Nigerian citizens. They will invest. And when we make it attractive, others will come. But if not, if we continue to rely on outsiders, these outsiders are not Father Christmas. That is just the truth. Encourage your citizens. When you look attractive, whether you are a female, you will have suitors. When you make your environment attractive as Nigeria, investors will come. Friendly nations will come.
Right. I think we should leave it there. Thank you so much for your time, always on the program. I appreciate your time. Balazaka is petroleum engineer and chartered accountant. We appreciate your time.
As always, also, God bless our great country, Nigeria.
Thank you so much.